What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we have some green action over here in the cryptocurrency market. We're going to take a peek at the things going on. It was a really long video yesterday, about 35 minutes, deep diving into all the different stuff from DXY, Euro USD, Bitcoin, XRP, altcoin market, all these different things. We'll keep this video much shorter and to the point, kind of piggybacking on the things that we talked about yesterday. One of the interesting things to notice about Bitcoin and the price action for the last nearly 3 years has been that it's been residing with a much larger parallel channel. People ask me, what is the super followers thing over there on Twitter? And essentially for super followers, what I do is I try to recap nearly all the videos that I make, but put them into a thread form over here on Twitter. So if you can't watch the video, I'll try to do a write-up of what the video was about each day. And one thing I added in there yesterday was that the interesting thing about hitting the boundaries of each part of this channel has been what the sentiment extremes were. And I recognize not a lot of people were here in June of 2019, but that was a really exciting time where we all thought the market was recovering and everything was going to be okay. Then, of course, C19 hit and extreme fear, laser eyes and diamond hands. And then now we all know you got the Luna UST, all the different stuff going on here right now. But I had added this part in here on the super followers tweet saying each boundary of the channel has had sentiment extremes. June of 2019, extreme euphoria. March of 2020, extreme fear. March of 2021, extreme euphoria. May of 2022, extreme fear. In that we can even see each time we hit the boundary of that range, we were at an extreme on sentiment each time. There's June 2019, there's March of 2020, there's March of 2021, and here we are, May of 2022. And so, of course, throughout history with my YouTube channel, I'm always trying to find the opportunity for the opposite thing to happen when extremes are happening. It's usually not the most popular thing to do, because when I'm screaming bear market, typically everybody is screaming, you're wrong, we're going much higher, we're in a bull market. And then when I'm looking for bullish action to return, it's typically when everybody swaps over to bear at the same time. And that has definitely happened. Essentially, everybody's calling bear market right now, which valid argument, no doubt about it, valid argument. But you know, it means we've been in a bear market for a long time on Bitcoin, right? It's not that it's just now begun right here. It's just things started picking up speed right here. But I was telling my wife yesterday, I was like, you know, I have my own thoughts on how I think it's all going to play out. But at the same time, I'm kind of like walking on eggshells, being a little bit cautious. And like I drew out, you know, what I think is going to happen in here. And she's like, why don't you share that with your channel? I'm like, well, you know, it's a crazy time out there. It's super mixed. That's what I showed you in the video yesterday, how there's so much mixed stuff happening. You have the DXY that had reached out to 20-year highs. You have the stock market that's not looking so hot. You got XRP breaking its 200-week moving average. You got Bitcoin below its 100-week moving average. Historically, those go to at least the 200-week moving average. So there's a lot of things in there, right? But what I know is Bitcoin still hasn't had any type of retrace. And being in markets long enough, the years that I've been in here, I always see retraces. And so, you know, I still hold on to it that, you know, that's still the likeliest thing to happen when I look back on history. And I'll show you the concerns I still have, but, you know, that if I can imagine how you would wrong foot everybody, right? So you know everybody turned bear right now, right? But what would be the thing that would just wrong foot everybody? Just like, you know, everybody got wrong footed up here. We don't know yet. Are they getting wrong footed down here? But what would be the perfect wrong footing? The perfect wrong footing would be a rise right back up to 47,000. Because why would that be the perfect wrong footing? And it would be a lot to do with this and how inverse head and shoulders look. And that what we have going on here is right in line with what an inverse head and shoulders would look like. We can put it on the weekly time frame, get a better look at it in this way so you can see the candles more similar to the images in here, and that you can see how this is played out in here. Here you go. There's your big, fat, ugly dip, and then we work our way back up. But then if we worked our way back up in here, what would be the thing that would happen in the market? It's that we would start seeing this inverse head and shoulders play out, and really start seeing it more so when you got back down in here. And then what happens? We break through here. How do you measure what a head and shoulders looks like? You measure it by measuring the break of the neckline from the length of the actual head. And there you go. That puts us out into new all-time highs, right? So you shake them out in here. You get back to the neckline, but then it reverses its way back down, and then it breaks through the neckline, and then everybody's got their measurements set to say, hey, we're going to new all-time highs. But what really happens is that everybody buys the break of the neckline, it gets back to retracements, and then down it goes. And it was a fake. And it was really just an ABC. It sounds so mean, but the markets are mean. And it's kind of like what happened back in here, right? That, it wasn't convincing that this was truly a real breakout. This thing totally tumbled on itself. But, that you'd get something similar to that happening in here. And this is really just a retracement because we've had none yet. But really, that's for another time. Right now, it's more of just like surviving this moment. If we see some type of big rise come out of there, we can start talking more in depth about this. Right now, we're not there to even say that's happening right now because Bitcoin's still just hovering sideways. And I'm going to get most of this off the screen at this point, but let's go ahead and dive into what's happening in here. Now, we talked about a lot of different things yesterday on what's happening with Bitcoin, whether that channel's holding, whether Bitcoin's going to the 200-week moving average, or whether that bear market fractal has grabbed a grip on Bitcoin once again. Now, when the C19 sell-off happened back in March of 2020, things were pretty aggressive. One thing that we could see is once the bottom came in, Bitcoin did go back and revisit its lows, even though that was the official bottom in there. There was still a revisit down here. Bitcoin has yet to do any type of revisit in here. However, the structural setup in here, it's not looking like some big bounces coming out here yet. Looking very similar to just kind of stalling out at the moment. In addition, when we look at kind of how these stalls happen and then the price just continues to fall down further, you could see how they happen. They just pause out and nothing really comes of them, and then they continue rolling over. So right now, Bitcoin's still just kind of in that stall out. And while it's still just a guess, based on how the C19 bottom came in and how continuations down happen, is that we'll see likely another move back down to revisit these low areas. And the question will be, will we break through it? And is there a bigger move down, or are we C19 style bottoming in here? That's difficult to say, but still there's no indication yet that something has deviated to show a reversal, right? I mean, the first step would still just to get above there, to get above $33,000 to start saying, hey, it looks like there's a chance we're bouncing. Right now, with where this price action is right here, you don't get that indication yet in either a good or in a bad scenario. I don't see an indication of reversal happening in Bitcoin just yet. Hopefully we get surprised, but I don't see it. Now, one of the positive things over here for asset prices is that we do see that the US dollar has been falling. It is now back below that 20-year high. It has pulled itself back down in. Along with that, we have seen the bounce coming out of this region so far for the euro, or euro USD, which is a major contributor to the DXY, the US dollar currency index. The DXY is not a measure of the purchasing power of the dollar. It's a measure of the value of the dollar in relation to a basket of 6 currencies. So how is it doing in comparison to these 6 other currencies? Major component of that DXY is the euro. We've been watching what the euro's been doing. Hey, look at that. We have something so far, but we'll see how that continues to play out. Here we go. We'll catch this live as it happens. The US stock market's about to open. It should open up a few hundred points to the upside. And there we have it. Dow Jones opens up 393 points. So good start to the morning. We can see the daily close down there was right here where we're at right now. We'll see if there's any follow through to that at all. But nice to see that start to the morning happening also while the DXY is falling back and the euro USD is moving up. So this is more focused on kind of the macro elements of the market, looking at the stock market, dollar, euro, all those things. And then, of course, the macro element of the cryptocurrency market is looking over here at Bitcoin. So I don't want to say too many things to repeat myself, and I also don't want to say too many things to step on the words that I may have said in previous videos. So I am going to keep this one pretty brief. It's a green day in the market. We see the DXY stepping back. We see the stock market stepping up. We see the euro USD stepping up. But when we look at a lot of these coins, all of them are still kind of stuck under this area, which still makes it kind of a blurry picture here on if we're ready to start doing anything. But definitely kind of one of the sigh of reliefs and the intense moments there was for that euro getting back down to those lows after we've looked at the structure so many times. And to see some green coming out of there, that was a big fingernail biting moment down in there, but still looking for those signs of reversals, higher highs, all that good stuff. We're not there yet, but we have seen bounces coming out of here, which also reflected in the DXY and the US dollar currency index, or the DXY. The only reason we even look at this thing is because of what happened in these last 2 moves down, and that we saw crypto prices performing very well in a downtrending DXY. So looking for that reversal. And with how important the euro is within that DXY, that's why we've been looking over here. Now we'll kind of update a little bit on a couple of elements in this market that have been overhanging and worrisome in here. One with the Luna and UST situation that's been happening. Yesterday we had talked about how it was still unknown what had happened with all the Bitcoins that the Luna Foundation had and whether or not they ended up selling them off. You could see over there on the on-chain data that it had been sent off to exchanges. They have claimed that they have sold nearly all of their Bitcoin reserves. So the worry was, do they still have all this Bitcoin, and do they still have the potential to do a lot of sell pressure here with this Bitcoin? Again, we have to take them for their word on this. We don't know if this is true or not, but they have come out to state their starting balance was 80,394 Bitcoin. And as of now, the foundation's remaining reserves consist of 313 Bitcoin. So they have sold over 80,000 of their original 80,394 Bitcoin during the sell-off that we saw over here in crypto. So they were a major contributor to the selling pressure happening there in that moment. But according to them, they claim nearly all the Bitcoin is gone and out of their possession and out in the market. Now, as for Tether or USDT, it is still not back at $1. We could see over here on May 11th, massive push down here over here on Tether. It has gotten back to nearly $1, 99.9 cents in here, but still off by 0.1 of a cent. We can see that over here on Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, and FTX, still not back at $1. So that oddity still exists out there in the market. So we'll keep taking it day by day. Like in yesterday's video, there's a lot of mixed stuff out there. It's hard to make speculative guesses right now. I'll show you all the things that I can see going on in here, but we could see a lot of mixed stuff still happening. But the market is still holding itself today with our first positive sign coming out there for the euro, translating over here to the DXY, which if you look at relative strength indexes and things like that, you can see the rolling over of strength. You see the bearish divergence that was set on the high on really multiple time frames that we can go to see that there was a bearish divergence placed on this most recent high. So a reduction in strength for that new high to get placed, rolling over happening in here, over here on the MACD as well, the cross coming in on here as well, while we're seeing that euro hitting that lower boundary of that range. So things don't usually move in straight lines. I haven't been showing on the channel of the fractal that I'm following for here on the DXY, but I would suspect there's probably a retracement coming in here on the DXY. There's probably a move coming back in here. But the big question will be what happens as we get back in here and if we can start really tumbling this thing back down. And in my fractals, this is what I do see happening. And we'll keep an eye on it as we are seeing the reduced strength. We are seeing the bearish divergences starting to emerge here in the dollar with a big old cross as this thing is super high. But pertaining directly to the crypto market, just looking at what happened at the bottom of C19 and looking at what happened when that bear market fractal took a grip of it. In both of those circumstances, whether this is the bottom or whether it's not the bottom, both of them still pulled back down. The question is, does the low get taken out or does it hold itself and work its way back up? But both of those guys did that. They both moved down from where we're at right now. So that's kind of the thing that's got me still in that caution phase right now. And I'm sure you guys can hear that in my voice. I'm not ready to start hooting and hollering just yet. Because while a head and shoulders fake out would wrong foot the most people in both directions, it would wrong foot people at the top and wrong foot people back at the retracement levels. Question still remains, is this channel actually going to end up holding in here? Are we going to go revisit the 200-week moving average? There's just nothing that has happened with this price action so far in Bitcoin for me to in any way speculate one way or the other over one or the other because of something magical that has happened on the charts at this point just yet. So even though there's nothing really happening yet in crypto, from what I can see at least, we'll take the first minor victory. That was the first minor one that it was in there. And I wouldn't even consider that minor. I consider that major to get out of there. I would have gotten really nervous if we got down below there for the euro. So I'll take that first little minor victory for us to see that bounce out of there right now. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. So hopefully we are starting to see some improvement on the macro landscape. Still a waiting game, it feels like to me at least over here in the crypto market. I like seeing the euro bounce, the DXY pull back, stock market move up. We'll see if that translates over there to the Bitcoin price chart and the altcoin market. But on that note, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.